Let's talk about self-love. This is the self-love mushroom. Amanita muscaria is the mushroom of the self. All the other entheogens give you perspective of what it's like outside of being human. But the Amanita wants us deeply in our meat sack, deeply being human. And I have another video on what it means to be human based on the things that 10 grams of psilocybin have told me, and all of the use of the Amanita muscaria mushroom for the last 5 years have told me my take on what it means to be human. Because this is the human mushroom, it wants you to focus on your humanity, on your feelings, on being human, and that your work is in the feelings. But they also push you into self-love. So what is self-love? Because I can tell you, when I first started using this mushroom and thinking, I really need to love myself, you hear about self-love, I thought that what self-love was is that I was supposed to feel for me the way I feel about my children, or the way that I might feel about a partner and someone that I deeply love. But when I think about loving myself, I don't feel those feelings when I turn it on myself. And I think it bears discussion because I finally understand what self-love is. And I think that people get confused with power. Owning your power is a form of self-love, but power is not self-love. And narcissism, I have a video about narcissism in Amanita if you want to go see that. Narcissism isn't actually self-love. It is devoid of love for the self. It is a self that is full of shame and self-hate. And narcissism is what the body is doing to keep the self's consciousness unaware of it. So narcissism is not self-love. This is my opinion and my take on what self-love feels like and what it looks like and what it is. Because our self is a single point of consciousness experiencing life in the space-time continuum, consciousness itself exists in the void, and I've been to the void, and there's nothing in the void. But when other entities show up with love, I feel the incredible amount of love they are moving at me and in my direction. And I feel that love back for them. But that's still not self-love. Consciousness does not love consciousness or itself, witnessing itself be conscious. It's merely an awareness, not love of self. So when I talk about self-love, what I'm referring to is the meat sack vehicle personality that you are here with the stories, the goals, the attachments, the movements, the feelings, the past, the toxicity, the hobbies, the talents, the goals, the motivations, the liaisons, connections, manifestations. These then are a consciousness creating, coming to the space-time continuum to play, to create, to learn, to grow, whatever you think that you're here to do. How then does one have love of self if self is just consciousness, but that consciousness is here experiencing in a meat sack? What I feel are expressions of self-care. I care enough about the sentience that is residing here. I care enough about the experience that I'm having here finally. I have so much I want to do. I care so much about the life experience that I then want to protect the things that are enabling me to continue with that life experience. So I want to show care for those around me, but I also want to show care for the vehicle that I'm in. And that includes not just the maintenance of the meat sack, but the maintenance of the spiritual connection to the other side that is keeping me whole here, but also the emotional body and the work that I know that I need to do to maintain that. So it would be things like rituals. And Amanita is the ritual mushroom. More than any other entheogen, it calls us to ritual, and I see now why. For me, The very first ritual in the morning is I get up, I open my blinds, I look outside, and I greet the sun with gratitude for what it's doing to maintain the planet that I'm on and all of the living things. Then I go to the other blinds in my room. I open them and I see the pine trees right outside, and they're still very young. And I tell them they're doing a great job. I ask them how their night was, and I welcome them to their new day. And then I listen. I say good morning to the cats, who all gather around, and they all start talking because they love our morning routine. I do these things not only to nurture the living things around me, but because it helps me get out of whatever bad dreams I had, whatever processing I was doing, whatever work I did, and it helps me wake up and face a new day and start it fresh. Another thing that we can do is honoring moments. It is egregious and a waste of our time here in the space-time continuum for us to blow right through one moment after another and rush through it all. Rushing, I talk about that a lot in my book. You can get it at mushroomvoice.com. It's on dosing Amanita muscaria and what to expect. I go into all of this in detail, a lot more detail than just the videos. If you're not rushing, then you can manipulate time and you can adjust your moments. But when you have moments that are truly beautiful that you want to savor, honoring a moment is very important. Even if it isn't a special moment externally, you can create a special moment for yourself. For me, the first of the month, I make a lot of special moments. I have things that I put out on the first of the month, things that help celebrate what that month means to me. So I may change out my pillow covers, or I may change out like hand towels in the bathroom. I have like a little flag out front. I'll change out my flag. These moments are special to me because I look forward to what they honor and what they bring into my life. Sometimes I try a new food that I haven't had before, or I have had it before and it's new or different or prepared in a new way. And in that moment when it hits me, I realize what a very unique and special gift it is to be on earth, have taste buds, and be able to experience this. I know there are a lot of people that have dietary restrictions and they can't, issues with their teeth and they can't, allergies and they can't. They're too frail, they're too old, and they can't. So if I'm experiencing something that tastes good, I know that this moment is fleeting, and I stop. And I just think to myself, damn, it's good to be human. This is awesome. Just that one moment. This is an act of self-care, self-reflection, and honoring, being proud of myself. And I hope that you find ways to be proud of yourself too. So it's not just owning your power. It's not just having motivation. But it's learning to actually go, wow, I can't believe I did that shit. Look at where I was a year ago and look at where I am now. I did this. Or, geez, I can't believe the pain that I've been put through. And when you're figuring out trauma, learning about your trauma, learning about what someone did, learning that no wonder you were so depressed, isolated, suicidal, whatever. After I learn all that, instead of just being depressed about it, sad about it, or upset about it, I continue to move forward into, wow, I made it through that. That was hard. And I have videos about using psilocybin and Amanita and other entheogens to heal. You should go watch those too on AmanitaDreamer.net because YouTube heavily censors me. That's a lot of hard work and you should be proud of yourself that you did it. Integration work is one of the biggest forms of self-love that I think it's easy to summon the courage to do an entheogen. And when you come out the other side and you're exhausted and you rest, the hard part is doing that integration. That is an act of self-care. That is self-honoring. Doing the integration work. Acceptance of the choices you've made. This is very important. We are here doing the best we can. We were making choices from the moment we were born. Whatever small choices we could make, like to cry, to try to lift our head, to start pushing and trying to roll over. Some of it we had less choice over and it was more of a built-in instinct than others. And as we get older, then we have more and more free will and more choices to make about the world around us and how we're going to interact in it. whether we are going to ascend and take the high road, continue to learn, be better people, learn to love. But no matter where you are right now, you've made some serious mistakes. And those mistakes have cost you, they've set you back years or decades, or they've cost you people that you love that you can't ever have a redo with. And maybe those people are gone. Those decisions are hard to face and accept, and many people hurt themselves and cause themselves even more harm because they're not coming to terms with those decisions and making peace with it. Accepting that fucking up is part of being human, that decision making is part of being human, and that you are going to make the best decision you can make in the moment, regret it a moment later, 10 moments later, years later, or not regret it. But you're going to continue to make decisions, and you're going to make them with the available information at the time. I have some that when I think of them, it's so disgusting and makes me sick. And then I have to stop and breathe and say, you were making the best decision with the best information with your best available energy at the time. If you were overwhelmed, perfectly capable, but you were overwhelmed at that point in your life, then you've got to give yourself permission for that to have been okay for then, even though you would have made a different choice now. Honoring your intuition is one of the most vital things you can do, but also shows an incredible amount of trust of the self. Trusting yourself is another form of self-care. So you have to listen to that internal voice. Go back through your life at things you were shamed for and decisions that you made that you could have sworn were good decisions, and look at them today with what you know now. There's a good chance it was a good decision. It's just that other people maybe had a hard time with it. You were listening to your intuition, smelling a food and going, it smells fine, but something's telling me not to eat it. I can hear myself say that I need to take this entheogen, but I also can sense it's not time yet. Even though the time for the ceremony is here, I can just feel that it's not time for me to do this right now. Learning to take care of yourself, listening to energy. When something says, you know what, you need to just call in sick today. Just don't even go to work. If something says, plan ahead and make a bunch of meals and freeze them, you're going to need them. This is intuition, the higher self. Listening to this is an amazing and beautiful act of self-care and self-love. Making friends. Yeah, that's a tough one right now. It's 2023, and a lot of people are pretty isolated, not only because of how the world shut down, not only because of the way that governments are behaving and it's making people afraid to talk about certain things with other people, but also because it seems like the way the planet is shifting and moving, it's pushing people deeper into their sickness to force them deeper into their enlightenment, self-care, and mental health. Because of that, it can make it really hard to trust people. It can make the world a scary place. I hear you. But what I'm going to tell you is that it is an integral part of being in a human meat sack. We are social animals, and we will be dysfunctional if we do not have connections and we do not build people that will be there when we need them and people we can be there for. This helps fulfill us deeply and make us human. And so connection and making friends is important. Where do you start? I started in a community I built for me because I needed friends. So I built mushroomvoice.com. It started as my Patreon. Censorship, I had to move it and pay for it all myself now. Very expensive. But I've met incredible people that I now call friends. And I know other friendships are being made there. Get involved in psychedelic society communities. Get involved in communities that are with hobbies that you enjoy online. Go to meetup.com and start going to meetups with things that you also do, even if they're things you just do sitting in a room with other people. But do your best to start reaching out and connecting to people that have similar interests to yours, But chances are, if you're growing, it would be better for you to find a group of other people that are also growing too. Taking your medicine as tea. Tea is a ritual, tea is important. However you take your medicine though, taking your medicine is an act of self-love and self-care. These are just a few things that I'm listing, but when you do regular things every single day and it becomes a way of life where you're sprinkling these things in, you slowly start to lift your sense of self up. And with the Amanita, also stoking that fire, helping you feel good about the body you're in, want very much to enjoy this life, feeling motivated and loving the experience you're having. These things help support the work that the Amanita muscaria is doing. These are acts of self-care. And I love you, beautiful people. Bye.